guys, welcome to Elizabeth Ann Reads. I'm Anne. Today I am doing my first ever seasonal TBR. I've never done this before and I thought I would give it a go for the spring. I think the reason I haven't done it before is that I'm not really a seasonal reader, at least I don't think I am. But I think even subconsciously we tend to gravitate towards certain things or just, lighter things or whatever it may be in the spring. So a lot of people recommend like a lot of romance or contemporary in the spring. Those are genres I don't really read, at least much of. But I tried to stick with things that there's some romance in there. There's some just lighter, happier books. I guess happy. We'll go with happy books. I tried to stick with those things that give you happy vibes and happy feelings. I have a few specific books, a few authors that I want to talk about as well. So let's just get into it. The first author that I want to talk about is Sarah Addison Allen. She writes magical realism. It's romance with a hint of magical realism. The thing I like about her romances is they're not too romance heavy. There's a very large emphasis on family and community, and the romance is just kind of part of that. It's not focused exclusively on the romance. And so her books are just warm. They're very environmental. A lot of them have to do with gardens or food. And there's always some sort of magical element. People are able to, bake things that make people feel a certain way when they eat them or something along those lines. These three that I have pulled out are Garden Spells, The Girl Who Chased the Moon, and The Peach Keeper. And all three of these I would recommend. They're short, they're quick reads, and they just give you kind of those warm springtime happy vibes. If you've already read Sarah Addison Allen and you're sitting there thinking, I know all about that, I would recommend picking up The Book Charmer by Karen Hawkins. This is very much a similar vibe. You have a small town. There's just, again, a strong family element in this. You have two sisters, and again, you have that magical element, but in this case, it revolves around books, which, as we know, as book lovers, we love a book that has heavy emphasis on books. So I would definitely recommend picking this one up. Plus, I believe there's a sequel coming out to it later in the year. Another author I want to recommend is Eva Olafsen. She is generally better known for her middle grade fiction. You may be familiar with like Witch or Island of Ants or The Secret of Platform 13. But she wrote several YA historical romances as well. And I say romance, they read much more like a classic romance. Again, it's not overwhelmingly heavy in the romance. They're just fun reads with a hint of history, some romance. They're just super, super enjoyable. I'm going to go through real quick and just tell you what these four that I have are about. First, we have The Reluctant Heiress. This is also sometimes published as Magic Flutes, so that's the same book if you see that. And this is about Tessa, who is a secret princess. She is trying to keep her identity a secret. And so she is working backstage at the Vienna Opera when, of course, the two worlds, the princess and the costume mistress worlds collide. It's lovely. In A Company of Swans, we have Harriet. It is set in 1912 in Cambridge. Harriet is the daughter of a little bit of an overbearing father, and so to get away, she joins a ballet company on a tour of South America. In The Morning Gift, we have Ruth, who lives in Vienna but has to flee when Hitler and the Nazis invade during World War II. So she flees to London. There's the marriage of convenience trope. This also has a big music emphasis. One of our main characters is a concert pianist. So if you like music, this is a good place to start. And the last one I want to mention is A Countess Below Stairs. This one follows Anna, who is a Russian countess, but of course during the Russian Revolution she had to flee to England and takes a position as a servant. I often recommend this as a good place to start with her books. I think it has a lot of lightness and some humor to it that the others maybe don't have quite as much. But all of these I think are really phenomenal and would definitely recommend that you pick them up if you're looking for something lighter, but still with some history in there maybe. All right, let's get to some individual books. Well, this one's actually kind of a crossover because it's an Ellen Montgomery book. And of course I recommend any Ellen Montgomery book. Anne of Green Gables, a lot of her standalones are good for springtime. But the one I want to talk about is The Blue Castle. This is a book I grew up reading. I've read it, I don't know, probably a dozen times at least. And until recently, no one had heard of this book. It was pretty obscure. Now, it has gotten some attention on BookTube in the last couple of years, which I'm grateful for. Usually, if I am pushed to say what my one favorite book is, it's usually this one. I love this book, and as I've gotten older, I've come to appreciate it even more. We follow Valency Sterling, who is 29. She is an old maid. She lives with her mother and her aunt, and she is not treated real well. She's kind of looked down on, and it's not a good situation. She receives some news one day and decides that she doesn't care what anyone thinks anymore, and she's just going to say and do exactly what she wants. And the story goes from there. It's hilarious. It's very heartwarming. It's very thoughtful. But it's a lovely little book. And I've even given this to people that swear they don't like Ellen Montgomery, and they have come back loving this book. So if you haven't picked this one up yet, please do. It's a great read. Next up is Beauty by Robin McKinley. This is a Beauty and the Beast retelling. I'm not going to give you a synopsis because we all know the story of Beauty and the Beast. This is my favorite retelling that I've ever read. Again, I've read this multiple times. Robin McKinley is known for her retellings. She writes a lot of them. You may have read some of them. But what I love about this one is the environment, that the Beast's castle, is almost its own character in this version. And it's just very environmental and, again, just a very, very sweet, quick, happy story. This, again, I would consider YA. Some people consider it like upper middle grade. I would say YA just because of what it is. But highly recommend. And this new cover I found recently is just beautiful. I have a feeling I'm going to be picking up a lot of these for a reread soon because I'm feeling inspired now. Another book I want to talk about is Crosstalk by Connie Willis. Connie Willis is one of my all-time favorite authors. I don't really talk about her a lot, and I maybe need to do a dedicated video to her books. But Crosstalk is one of her more recent works. It came out like 5 years ago. And it is a science fiction rom-com. So if the science fiction part scares you, don't. This is very, very light on the science fiction. It's almost not there, but it is a little bit. In this book, we follow Bridie, who, in this slightly future world, there's a procedure you can have, an implant that you can have put in that allows you to connect more with your significant other. Basically, it allows you to feel what they're feeling, experience their emotions. So her boyfriend convinces her that they need to have this done, or that they should have this done because everyone's doing it. But it does not go as planned. Connie Willis has this way of writing characters that makes you just fall in love with them. They're so relatably flawed. Like, they're awkward and just say and do stupid things that you so relate to. Or at least I relate to. I think other people relate to as well. This book is funny. It's just a little bit chaotic. As I was looking through some different reviews as I was putting this together, I noticed a review that said it's a funny, clever, and romantic anxiety attack, which is exactly how I felt when I was reading it. It was very chaotic. Occasionally, I had to just kind of stop and breathe for a few minutes while I was going through it. But I definitely recommend, if you've never tried Connie Willis, I think this is a great jumping off point. And the last book I want to talk about, I almost didn't mention just because it's been very popular lately, and that is The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. This, I'm sure you know all about this because everyone's been talking about this. This was one of my favorite reads of last year. In this, we follow Linus, who is a social worker for magical children. So he is tasked to go to this island where there's kind of this secret orphanage, not orphanage, but home for these children. And he's supposed to go and kind of check on everyone and make sure everything's going well, check on the foster father, I guess you would call him. And so he spends a month out at this island at the house in the Cerulean Sea. And it's just such a lovely story. There's definitely some outdoor vibes. They go on hikes and different things, so there's some of that in there. But again, just a very light, happy fantasy. Fantasy, I think, is not often people's go-to in the spring. I think they tend towards other things, unless they're purely fantasy readers. But I think this is a great springtime fantasy. Again, just very happy vibes, very warm and cozy, and just a lovely, lovely book. That's it. I would love to hear what your favorite springtime reads are. So you can let me know down in the comments below. And thank you for watching.